Howdy, partners! Welcome to the Haunted Chronicles, episode 119. Our guest tonight is Heather Wade, host of the radio show Midnight in the Desert. Heather is waiting patiently in the Haunted Chronicles green room, and I asked her to draw an alien on my Etch-a-Sketch. She's doing a pretty good job. Good job, Heather. And will join us shortly. This episode is brought to you by An Evening with Annabelle. Who wouldn't want Annabelle, the haunted doll, watching you as you dine on a sumptuous buffet? This September 10th, An Evening with Annabelle includes a special tribute to Ed Warren, a lecture, a banquet dinner, and you get to see Annabelle and other haunted objects from the Warrens Occult Museum. Please visit warrens.net for ticket information and tell them Mr. Haunted sent you. Warrens.net. I am Mr. Haunted, and I'm joined by Brock Crablegs Burrows and Jennifer Baby Soft Runyon. Fellas, how was your week?
Hey.
Hey.
I want to go to see Annabelle, I think.
I think I can get you in.
All right.
I'm going to be a special feature.
Oh, my, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to sell nothing. And we're going to wish our underwater friends, the whales, a special hello in a minute. We haven't wished them greetings in a while. So how was your week, fellas?
Well, I'm just still recovering from, having my face, attacked by a spider in the middle of the night. Dear Lord, this thing... I swear to God, on Sunday, I had this little tiny dot, and I'm like, oh, must have got a little hive. I woke up Monday, and it was on fire. It was like the size of a golf ball. And it didn't even, I know you saw pictures on Facebook, but it was so much worse. But I've been nursing it. It's almost all gone. And yeah, so that's been my adventure all week. I've worn big sunglasses every time I go out.
Did you achieve any superpowers yet?
My spidey senses are tingling. I'm telling you.
She's climbing the outside of her house right now.
Yeah. This is who knew this would be so wonderful, I
had nothing to say, except I went live on Facebook about an hour ago because we had bad thunderstorms. And while I'm trying to record thunder and lightning for the merriment of viewers, my good friends suggest that I get a selfie stick and run around into the storm, stand under a big tree, and hold a metal pole to the air.
And you did it.
That's what kind of friends I have. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, there was a cow that flew by, too.
I did see that.
Yeah. That was quite interesting.
Auntie M. How was your vacation, Brock? How was your vacation?
Pretty good.
You're still there. You're still there, right?
Yeah, we're getting ready to leave in the morning to head home. But it's been nice weather. It's been, the temperatures haven't been really hot. I think next week it's supposed to be in the upper 90s here. So we hit it perfect time, and, we're ending it. And what better way to end a vacation than on the Haunted Chronicles?
Yeah, right?
What a treat.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want
So I had some shrimp. Yeah, I just had some shrimp. And I'm going to go down after the show and eat some more. So some good stuff.
Yeah.
Ask how I am.
No, we're not going to do it, Jimmy.
No.
Nope, not going to do it.
All right. Jimmy, how are you?
I don't have anything prepared, but I am happier than a chubby little whistle pig floating down a river of molasses on a giant buttermilk biscuit like he's freaking King Neptune or something.
Oh.
King Neptune.
I don't know. King Neptune. Is he a king? I don't know.
Do you...
Oh, the whales.
The whales. Oh.
Thank you. So it's a little greeting to our underwater friends.
Oh, I have to just tell this really cute whale story. So many years ago, before children, Todd takes me up to Canada. We are up in the Yellowknife, in this area where the polar bears migrate through. And because this is what my husband does. This is the kind of stuff he takes me on. And he's like, okay, we're going to go on a whale watch. And I'm like, awesome. So we get the next morning, we get to the little landing, where I'm thinking it's going to be like a dock, No, we're on a beach, and it's a dinghy. He's putting me in a dinghy. And I looked at him, and I'm looking out into the Hudson Bay, and there's icebergs. And I'm like, are you nuts? 15 people can fit on it. So I did it, and I was pissed off.
Did you see Jack and Rose?
Right? I'm telling you, we're right next to icebergs. I'm like, if this tips over, we're dead, right? So I was so mad until they dropped the microphone into the water. And there were the whales swimming. And it was a little nerve-wracking, a little scary, because the whales are right next to you. But that was what they were talking. They were communicating. And it was the most beautiful. I mean, I ended up so pissed off 1 second, and then with the most euphoric joy after that. It was amazing. Just had to share that. It's pretty cool.
Oh, the little whales. Those are whale friends. We were saying back to them.
Yeah, sending it back.
Our guest tonight is Heather Wade. Heather is host of Midnight at the Desert, which can be heard Monday through Friday, 12 to 4 a.m. Eastern Time. For more information, please visit midnightinthedesert.com, and I'm sure all my friends are going to post that link in the chat also. Heather? Oh, she left.
Oh.
No, I'm here.
There's a little Heather theme music. This is awesome.
I just, I have to make an entrance.
You do, and what a wonderful entrance. That's amazing.
It's like when Andre the Giant used to step up.
How are you guys doing today?
Well, I'm happier than a whistle pig or something. I don't know.
Buttermilk biscuits.
It's so weird. I got to tell you guys, it is so strange to do a show, to actually be talking into the microphone while it's daylight outside. This is feeling very weird already.
Oh,
good.
I bet.
Heather, I want to thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. I know you don't do these often. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I usually don't. But we've been friends for a while here now, and you're Mr. Haunted, so it seems right. It seems only right. But it's been a rough day, and it's been a rough week because Art's not feeling so good. So first, right off the bat, I want everyone to wish that Art gets better soon. He's not feeling so good, and he's back in the hospital. Yeah. I'm thinking for tonight, for Friday night open lines, I just might have to break down and do a mass consciousness experiment for him. He did it for Danny and Brinkley. I think we all should step up and participate in that for him.
Well, I'm staying up for that.
Wow. Awesome.
Thank you. Heather, will you please join us in our regular feature before we get started? It's called Scary Movie Celebrity Birthdays, and I know you're going to love this. It's celebrities that appeared in some scary movie, and they have a birthday this week, and you're going to guess their age. What a hoot that's going to be.
I'm about to get this wrong, that's what.
Well, you can be on my team then, because I get it wrong every week.
All right.
That's not true.
Done deal.
Our first birthday is Tom Cruise, who was in War of the Worlds. Tom Cruise. Maybe you heard of him.
You go first.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him, actually. But I'm going to guess 89.
89.
That's lower.
Okay, so 89.
The guy
I'm going to
doesn't
say
age, okay?
No.
It's
Yeah,
not
he
right.
doesn't.
He doesn't age. It's supernatural. I'm scared of him.
Yeah, I'm scared of him too. I'm with you. I'm going to say 50. 55.
54.
He will be 54.
Oh.
So only 30 years away. You're getting close.
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson, who was in Phantom of the Opera, Home Sweet Hell, that sounds like a hoot, Insidious 1 and 2, and plays Ed Warren in the Conjuring movies. Patrick Wilson.
He looks like he's in his late 40s. I'll say 49.
I'll go 50.
44.
Little Patrick will be only 43 this year.
Oh.
That's what he says.
Oh, don't tell Patrick that we said that. Don't tell him.
Patrick stopped listening on episode 3, so we're safe.
Okay. That
So,
was
but one
close.
more. Sylvester Stallone, who was in I See You, Rambo, Rocky, Judge Dredd, and Cliffhanger, was a scary movie. So he squeezes in today. Sylvester Stallone.
Cliffhanger.
Definitely 89. Definitely 89. I'm sticking with that one on that one, yes.
89. Let's say 68.
70?
He'll be 70.
Wow.
And before I forget,
Got us a winner.
a special happy birthday to today is his birthday, Brian Hayes, who runs the page on the Fringe with
Yes.
Ellen Heather Wade.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Awesome.
Brian.
Oh,
Happy
it's Brian's
birthday.
birthday.
It is.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, he's such a great guy.
And
Awesome.
Heidi Haunted celebrates a birthday July 4th.
Happy birthday,
Aw.
Heidi.
She'll be 13.
Happy birthday.
Oh,
Oh, Heidi.
What a day to have a birthday on
Ah.
July 4th, man. The whole country's celebrating your birthday
That's
every
right.
year. That's
That's
cool.
right.
Well, would a haunted do it any other way?
Well, funny you should say that because my other daughter, Holly Haunted, is born January 1st.
See?
Look at you.
Jimmy,
Wow.
stop showing off.
Wow.
I
Hopefully
know.
they'll have their birthdays off the rest of their life when they are working.
Yeah.
Heather, I want to get to your stories. Believe me, I just have a breaking news story. Breaking news.
It's all right, man. I'm not stressing. It's cool.
An update on last week's story that a 65-year-old man from India collapsed from chest pains and later died while watching The Conjuring 2. And the story claims not only did he die, but his body somehow vanished at the hospital and still is not found. Another article I found claims 37 people from around the world have died while watching the movie. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I don't believe it. Watching the movie about the Enfield haunting. And people are making their own videos at the movie theaters while acting possessed. If you search YouTube for those,
Hey, man,
people
don't
are-
mess around with that movie. I'm telling you, I procured myself a copy of The Conjuring 2, and I watched it at home because a listener called in and said, people are having strange things happen to them in the movie theater. Have you heard about this? You got to see the movie. So, all right, here's my little homework assignment. I go, I watch the movie. I'm about a half hour in, and chills just from head to toe for no reason. It's not from the movie because I'm watching it. I've watched I don't know how many horror movies, and I'm going, okay, there's nothing especially scary here, but why do I feel like I'm being watched by 100 people? Okay. And then after the movie was over, my electronics started to just go haywire. I had light bulbs going out. I had doors opening. I had knocks in the house where I usually wouldn't. I would hear sounds like someone's rummaging in a room across the house, and I go over there. There's nothing going on over there. And then it comes time, now it's time to go on the air and do the show, right? So it's about, 7:30, 7:45, and I have to print out my notes, and the printer will not work. It just will not work. It's coming up with a different error every time I fix something, and then I finally have to go to a standby printer and try that, and even that printer wasn't working. And so I ended up finally getting it to work, and I had to print my notes all out in blue because that was the only color that was left in the printer, and barely made it on the air. Man, it was so strange.
So there is some truth to these stories, for Pete's sake.
Wow.
There is. Be careful when you're watching that movie. Now, the next day, because I was exhausted after that show that night, so the next day I got out everything I had. Well, of course, I brought all my talismans and good luck charms and candles and everything, you name it, around me and in my pockets and stuff while I'm doing the show that night. And there were strange noises while I'm on the air. So no pressure, right? You're live on the air, thousands of people are listening to you, and now you're hearing weird things in the room, outside of the room, and I'm trying to, okay, you guys, I have to fess up. I'm hearing weird noises. What in the world is that? And so the next day, I got the old spell book out and did all of the cleansing, cleaning, get rid of whatever that is in my house. I am never going to watch that movie again.
Wow. Wow.
So you're not going to stand in line for Conjuring 3, you're saying?
No, probably not. Probably not. But after the sage and I put a white candle in every room and did just general clearing out. After that, it seemed to die down. Although last night there was a couple of weird noises. Last night sounded like somebody knocking on the outside of the house. So I go outside. I'm looking around. There's nobody out there. So I don't know. But it died down significantly. The lights are working. The equipment is working again.
And just to let you all know, that I'm live from the theater in the Conjuring 2 movie right now. No, I'm just joking.
Good. Make a scene.
Yeah, I just don't
All
think I
right.
can go see it. I just don't think I can.
I am definitely going to see it.
And Heather,
I got Jimmy on my side, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier this week,
well,
we had
it's not the movie itself. The movie itself is just your regular horror movie. It's something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Well, and that's real quick. That's real funny because we talked when Jimmy had done some of the cases that he's done before. It always seems to stir up energy from those cases when you go back to talk about them. And we had that same experience when I made fun of the goat on that one, the haunted cable box story, where everything just shut down. And I was hearing something on the outside of the house, and finally I told it you had to leave, and it was gone. But I think there's something to it when you bring up some of these investigations that had a lot of energy, be regular spirit energy or more negative energy. I think some of that is stored out there and it's released as you play back, if you reenact it like the movie kind of does.
Well, they're listening to us. That's my theory. Oh, they're talking about me. Well, I better go haunt that house and scare that person.
I wonder if those Dave, the producer, do those listeners show up in the numbers tonight? Because if we have any listeners from the other side, thank you for joining us and leave us alone for the next 45 minutes. Thank you. Heather, I want to know, when you were growing up, did you have any of these occurrences happen? Anything supernatural, paranormal?
Oh, yes.
Oh, tell us, please.
We love
when
this.
When I was very little, I lived in a very old house way up in the mountains, about 3 mountains behind Yosemite, in a very little tiny town, about 100 people in this town. And that house, it was clearly haunted. The lights would flicker. It had an attic, which is unusual. That's how you know it's a very, very old house. That attic was full of antiques, and we never went up there. And I remember when the house was empty one time on a summer day, I went up to that attic just to peek in. And, it was just right out of the textbooks, all these antiques covered in sheets and everything. And there's no windows open up there. And I remember poking my head up, and I'm looking around, and I know I'm not supposed to be up there, right? So I'm going, okay, I have to make this quick and don't move anything, don't break anything. I think I was about 5 years old. And so I'm just kind of looking around, and this attic is huge, spans the whole house up there. And I started to see, it looked like some chairs stacked on top of each other. And the first thing I noticed right away is it looked like a breeze was blowing through the sheets. And I saw dust because the sheet was moving, starting to rise off of the sheet. And that was it. I got out of there. And then I heard, as I closed the steps, because it was like a fold-up steps that you push up into the attic and close the door, I could hear, it sounded like somebody walking around. And it was a clear sound of boots on the wooden floor up there, and you could hear what sounded like keys on the person's hip, walking around, and that lasted for, God, I mean, it went on for hours and hours, and then as soon as my mom and my sister and their friends got home, and I'm in my room. Oh yeah, no, everything's been fine. I didn't do anything I'm not supposed to do, and it stopped. It stopped abruptly as soon as they got home, and I had imaginary friends that I would talk to, that I could see, and I just thought that's normal. There was an older woman. There were 3 children that I thought I was playing with, and then as I grew up and we long moved out of that house, then it occurred to me, oh, wait a minute, those were not real people. And then the more I learned about the paranormal as I went along, and of course the more horror movies you watch, it was when I saw Amityville as a kid, which probably isn't right for a little kid to watch that,
Yep.
the original Amityville movie, then it occurred to me, oh no, I don't think my imaginary friends were from my imagination. So that was going on when I was in kindergarten, and it went on all the time. And then we moved from that little house to another house in the same little town, and they would still come to visit me at night, and I wouldn't sleep through the night. I would just talk to them, and didn't know what they were, didn't know anything about any of this stuff. And they would come. I would be laying down in my bed, and the spirits would show up, and we would have long conversations through the night about anything I wanted to ask, and I didn't know that that was weird or odd. So I started with the unseen at a very young age.
Wow. Wait, I got to share a story with you later about that same thing, Heather.
Oh,
We'll
yeah?
save that one. Write that down. Yeah.
Well, and, I got so used to knocking, the sound of activity in the house, lights flickering, the sound of drawers opening, doors opening. I got so used to it that any time after that I ended up in a haunted house, every time I moved, because we did move a lot, I would always wonder, oh, is this house haunted too? And it just seemed to be a normal part of life.
Did you have the same people visiting you from house to house, or different ones?
Usually different. It would be different from house to house.
Wow.
And
But I
were you
didn't
the only
always
one
get visited. That would be
that
visited?
knew? I mean, did anyone else feel or hear any of this stuff? Was it just you?
Well, sometimes my mom or my sister might make a comment, but no, it wasn't really talked about. No.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
And it wasn't every single house, but I remember living up way up in the mountains like that when I was a little tiny kid. Those houses were clearly haunted. And then we moved again to a few apartments, and then ended up in another older house in the Central Valley of California, and that house seemed to be haunted, but there wasn't the high level of activity, but you could feel there was a constant tension. Like all our personalities seemed to change when we moved into this one house in the Central Valley, out of the mountains, and the mood of the home became very tense, and we didn't talk to each other as much. And then my grandmother passed away in that house on Thanksgiving one year, and then there really was haunting activity going on. I could hear her whispering, because her room was across from mine, and for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after she passed away, I could hear her whispering. She used to talk to herself in the middle of the night, and I would always hear her, and she would write in her notebooks. And so for the longest time, for like I said, 2 or 3 weeks, it sounded like she was still in there, writing in her notebooks and talking to herself. You could hear it. You couldn't understand what she was saying, but you could hear that someone was over there in that room. And there were several times. The most common thing that happened in that house was that in the middle of the night or right when I would wake up in the morning, I would feel like someone had sat down on the bed. You know, you can feel that. And I had a waterbed at the time, so you could really feel it if
Mm-hmm.
it felt like someone sitting down on the bed with you. And I always felt watched, just like someone's in the room. Not you weren't wondering, am I being watched right now? You definitely felt like someone was there.
Wow. Heather, great stories. We're at our halftime break, and we'll have more with Heather Wade after these important messages. Welcome back to the Haunted Chronicles. We're talking to Heather Wade, host of Midnight in the Desert. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the chat room. Thank you to Carrie, Dr. Dave, Dwayne, Maggie Renee, Sprinkles, Brock, Max, Linda Rue, Orville Wayne Schnedeker, Tiffany, Brian H., happy birthday, Doug, Nicholas, Tony, Mary, Dez, Mark, Chubby, and Orville, Cheryl Carter, next week's guest, Kara E., Randy, Cindy Femforce, Lisa M., Peg, and I want to thank part of the people that shared the page right now, share the event page. Independent Paranormal Research Circle, Paranormal Planet, Electric City Paranormal, On the Fringe with Art Bell and Heather Wade, The Crew from the Demon Files, Interviews from Beyond, Ghosts and All Things Paranormal, Paranormal Cat, Appalachian UFO Research Society, and UFOs, Paranormal and Government Agendas, Paramania Radio, Edge of Fear, Realm of the Unknown, Boneyard Paranormal Research Group, and FemForce. Thank you, and I'll get to the individuals later if we have time.
Put the oxygen on, Jimmy.
Thank you. Diabetes. And tomorrow, apparently, is World UFO Day. I just found that out today. And in honor of World UFO Day, Heather, do you have a UFO story to share with us?
Oh, I saw a UFO one time.
What happened?
Well, I've told this a few times on the air, but I rarely give the whole story because, like any good UFO story, it's gonna sound crazy.
Yep.
But it was summer 2011. I couldn't sleep because I can't sleep. I'm a total insomniac, and so you know when you're laying there and you've tried and tried for hours and hours and you can't get to sleep. Well, all right, to hell with it. I'm gonna go for a walk. So I get up. It's about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, closer to 4, and I go out for a walk, and there's nobody out, and walking down, and all of a sudden some movement catches my eye, and there's a bright flash, and so I look up, and I see this very bright light. It looks like a star, but much, much brighter, and I could have sworn that this flash hit my face. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's it. I'm very tired. My mind is playing tricks on me. But I'm still looking at this light. It seems very far away. It's a white light. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's a satellite. That must be what it is. And then it starts to move kind of erratically. It starts to move from side to side. It starts to do figure eight. It starts to move around in a circle. Kind of like, hey, look at me, I'm up here. And then, and this is the crazy part, but it seemed like I was now having thoughts that were not my own. It seemed like I was having thoughts about propulsion. It seemed like I had thoughts about how to travel between planets, and I'm going, this is not anything I know about. This is very strange. And then I start to feel a headache coming on. And I'm looking around, and there's just nobody. I'm hoping, almost begging internally for someone to walk along and see this, but there's nobody out there. So I stand there, and I'm looking at it. It doesn't go away. I'm watching it move around up there, sort of taunting me. And then it shoots off and disappears, and I'm going, okay, that was not a satellite. That was not an airplane. That was not a helicopter. What in the world was that? So I just go home, and I'm trying to get it out of my mind, but I'm feeling this headache coming on very slowly, but determined to just take me down. And I'm going, great, now I can't sleep, and I got this incredible headache coming on, and it's getting progressively worse and worse very quickly. So I went home, took Benadryl, and finally did fall asleep, and then I wake up the next day, and going about my business and telling myself, yeah, that was just a weird thing, probably my eyes playing tricks on me, who knows what that was. I'm sure there's a scientific explanation, mundane explanation for what I saw. And then as I'm going to, do the chores around the house, I notice on my right arm, in the forearm, in the middle of my forearm there's what looks like a rough patch. And I'm going, oh, that's weird. And so I put my finger on it, and I sort of press down on it, and I'm going, what is that? And it feels like there's something in there. And this is also going to sound crazy. I swear on my mixing board here, this is the God's honest truth. I scratched at it, and then I could tell there's something in there, something dense is in there. And, I don't even like piercings. I can barely handle earrings. I don't want anything foreign object in my body. So now I'm going, what in the world is this? So I scratch at it, and I scratch at it, and now I'm getting close, and I feel like there's definitely something there. And this headache is just, by now, it is teeth-gritting, just head-splitting, eyes-bleeding headache, okay? Now I can't think. I can't do anything. All I have is this incredible headache. I just want to curl over in a ball and close my eyes as tight as I can, and I want this headache to go away more than anything. And then at the same time, I'm trying to get this thing out of my arm, and I finally do. I get it, and it's about the size of a grain of sand, and I'm rolling it between my finger and my thumb, and I'm going, wow, it was definitely an object there. How in the world? And so I'm looking at it very carefully, and it's clear, kind of white but clear, and I can't see any details in it, and I'm going, there is just no way. How in the world did that get in my arm? I wasn't abducted. It was just a weird light that I saw in the sky. How can this possibly be? And so it fell out between my thumb and my forefinger, and I have, light beige carpet, so good luck, right? And then I noticed that my headache now goes down a notch, and I'm going, oh, hey, wait. If that's going to make it go away, all right, man, let's get to work. So I get out the vacuum. I vacuum up that spot. I take the vacuum bag out. I go outside, and I carry it as far away as I can possibly get to the farthest dumpster I can find and throw that thing away. And as I'm walking back up to my door, I notice the headache is really going away now. I mean, it is slowly starting to subside. You know how if you get a splinter and then you take it out, how it still hurts, but it's gone, and you go, oh, okay, it's going to heal now. The bad part is out. That's what it felt like in my head, and I'm so grateful that this headache is starting to go away. And then when I got into my door, and as the day progressed, it went away all the way. And the odd thing is I heal very, very fast. Okay, my skin heals really fast. I do tattooing as a hobby, and I do what us crazy tattoo artists do to practice on people so we don't mess up on people. We do what's called bloodlining, and that's when you use a tattoo machine with no ink. And what happens when you start tattooing in the skin is you start to bleed a little bit, and you can use that as your ink. I know that sounds pretty brutal, but that's the way it's done. So I've done many bloodline tattoos on myself. Within maybe 4 or 5 days, they're healed, no trace of it. This little tiny spot, and I still have the scar. It is minuscule. It's very tiny. took about 3 weeks to completely heal over, and even then, there was a clear, deep red mark there, and it really has taken several years for it to just get to a faint scar. So I can't figure out why it took so long to heal, and I can't figure out how it got there, and I can't figure out what it was I saw in the sky, and if it truly did flash in my face the way it seemed to. But that is one of the most strange events that have ever happened in my life, and I've never told that story on the air. I hope I don't now get committed.
I hope not.
Wow.
Heather, you know what's the most amazing thing about that is that these aliens traveled galaxies and light years to get here, and you foiled them with a Hoover vacuum. I'm so proud of you.
That's right. That is right. No, and this is going to sound crazy too, but one of the messages, and God, to hear myself saying this is why I don't talk about it, because it just sounds out of control crazy. But one of the messages it seemed like I got was, hey, we're trying to contact you. We contact different people to see if anybody can answer us. And in my mind, I'm going, well, you got the wrong person.
Buckaroo.
You're wasting this on me. I'm nobody. Why are you trying to I can't answer you. And that, when I had that thought, is when I saw the light zip off and go away. But yeah, the power of the Dirt Devil is strong, ladies and gentlemen. Do not underestimate.
Next week's episode sponsored by Dirt Devil. That's Dirt Devil for all your cleaning needs.
I could just see a UFO hovering over the dumpster. Why isn't it answering me?
Well, Ian Punnett once said, "Threaten the Hoover," and now maybe we know why.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was really good.
I want to talk about your show for anybody that's not familiar with it. Could you tell people how they could listen in to your show?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there are several ways to listen. Midnight in the Desert airs from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Pacific Time, Monday through Friday. And it's on at, actually, if you go to midnightinthedesert.com, this is so cool. We have now a Listen Live button right there on the homepage of midnightinthedesert.com. Just hit Listen Live, and the player will pop up, and there you go. If you happen to have a shortwave radio, you can pick up Midnight in the Desert on 5085 kilohertz. That's coming from WTWW, shortwave station out of Nashville, Tennessee. And there's a listen call-in number. I think that's on the website if you want to use your unlimited calling plan as opposed to your data. You can listen to the show that way, but like I said, the number's on the website.
Right, and Friday nights, you have guests Monday through Thursday usually, and on Friday nights is open lines, which, what can people do with that?
Anything you want. Anything you want. I like to hear everybody's paranormal experiences, UFO experiences, especially abduction experiences, anything at all. Even if somebody wants to call up and talk about what they saw on the news today, maybe they saw an article they want me to know about. Open lines means just that. Anything at all. You want to ask me a question? People don't really know me very well. You can ask me anything. We'll see if I'll answer it.
Tonight, 3 hours, midnightinthedesert.com. Can you tell us some of the oddest calls you've gotten on the open lines?
I got one last Friday. Oh, this was great. This gentleman calls, and he's starting to tell a story about how, I think it was his sister who was abducted, and she kept seeing somebody else in the ship, and they apparently, in her memory, had plaques for everybody. And he said when she read the name of the plaque of the person directly across from her, it said Heather Wade.
I want a plaque. Oh. You have a plaque in the ship?
You have a plaque.
I only have plaque on my teeth. Congratulations.
I don't know. Some of the weirder ones, I've had an anonymous call. I've had apparently Lucifer called one time and said that
Wow.
my journey to the dark side is nearly complete. I've had J.C. Webster the third call. It is just, you don't ever know what's going to happen. One that really threw me back was a guy that called in and he said, Hillary Clinton killed Vincent Fox, and I know because a Secret Service agent told me. I used to fly Secret Service agents around, and this guy leaned over and told me all about it one time, and I went, whoa, don't say that on my program. Am I going to go to jail now? Yeah.
Hey,
So
any
you never know what's
presidential
going to happen on open
candidate
lines.
with the word kill in the same sentence?
Yeah, right.
I just
Yeah,
did.
no,
Yeah.
not good. I was instantly uncomfortable. And the coolest open lines call ever was when Art called in and told about how we were talking about on that open lines night, what would you do, how would you spend your last 7 days? If you knew it was your last 7 days on Earth, how would you spend it? That was my question for the night. And Art calls up. And he says, I can't resist, but one time I was asking on an open lines show about your last, 3 days. If you knew an asteroid was going to hit the Earth and take us all out, how would you spend your last 3 days? And someone said they'd run up their credit card. So the question came up, do the credit card companies have a policy for the apocalypse? And so Art called MasterCard and had to sort of go up the chain of command to find out. And finally we got as high as he could go at MasterCard. The guy says, look, I got to call you back and let you know. I don't know. We don't have a policy for this yet. So they call him back. And the policy is, and this is thanks to our Bell, that MasterCard will let, if the apocalypse is about to hit and everybody knows it, you can go max out your credit cards to the very limit. And they don't care because if the world ends, then they don't have to collect. If the world doesn't end, then MasterCard just got very, very rich, and their receivables just went through the roof. So that's the policy. Art called in to tell us that. Boy, that was awesome.
So in case of
That's
an
fun.
apocalypse, I could finally get my Ecto-1 Ghostbusters Lego Mobile.
There you go.
Finally
right.
afford it. Great.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so open lines is a nail biter because you don't know what's going to happen from call to call.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's in 3 hours.
4.
So 4 hours. Thank you.
Yes.
And you know what? While we got you on, I got another thing written down here. NDE, which stands for near-death experience. Do you have a story about that?
Well, I did have a near-death experience. I mean, I don't know. How much time do we have here?
I don't know either, Heather. Go for it.
Gosh, seeing a UFO, that was after I had a near-death experience, but and that was pretty profound. But this is definitely the one thing that has changed me the most. So I had this really bad stomach ache, and I mean bad. It felt like a medieval flail being rolled around inside my stomach, and this went on for 6 or 7 days. Finally, I had my friend take me to the hospital, and they do a CT scan, and the doctor comes back and he says, if we don't operate on you within the hour, not within an hour, within this hour, you're going to die. And he walks away. And I go, oh, you don't hear that every day. Okay. And then here comes the anesthesiologist. They put me out. And all of a sudden, I start to feel like I'm traveling at a very, very high speed through blackness, through darkness. And it feels very, very strange. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to notice that I'm not in any pain anymore. And I'm starting to feel very, very light. And then it occurs to me, I'm not in my body right now. And then I'm going, oh, then that means I'm going to wake up really soon because I'm not very good at out-of-body travel. So I'm thinking, well, this is going to end pretty soon. Wow, it's not ending. Okay, what's going on here now? And then I notice that it feels like I'm floating, and I feel so far away. The sensation of being far away from Earth was overwhelming. It really does sound strange, but I felt like I was out in space. And I've talked to near-death experience experts, and they say that this is not uncommon. Now, I did not see a tunnel. I did not see a light. I did not see loved ones. I didn't see the devil holding open the door to hell like I thought I would. But it was dark. It was black. I felt like I was out in space. And then I'm starting to become aware of another intelligence near me, and it's a huge presence. It's just overwhelming, huge presence. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now what's about to happen? That must be the devil, you know. And so I say, am I dead now? Is it over now? And I'm communicating with this presence, and it says, well, for a little while. And now I'm thinking, okay, you can speak English? Now this is getting really weird. But it's a mental communication that's going on. And so I said, how long is this going to last? I want to stay here. I don't feel any pain, and it feels like everything is just over now, and none of that matters now. And he says, well, right now it doesn't. And I say he because the voice had a male sound to it. Now, I'm not telling you that I know everything about near-death experiences. I'm not saying I know what I was even in contact with. I don't. Just sort of reporting to you what I remember. It's very strong in my mind. And I remember having this very, very long conversation with this intelligence. And I said, wait a minute, though, hang on. I have not lived the best life here. Why is it that you're talking to me? Because, you know, I don't believe in God. I'm a witch. Doesn't that matter? No, that doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters is how you treat others, all those other souls. That's what matters. And you don't intentionally going around causing pain to people, so you've got this little rest here. And I said, well, how long is it going to be? And in this, I'm telling you guys, the sensation was absolute, complete bliss. It felt so good. It was such a sense of freedom. That word almost doesn't even really tell it. It was such a sense of freedom and being free of everything that happens on Earth. And I had this long conversation, and it got to a point where the intelligence asked me, well, what do you want? Because you have to go back. And I said, well, I don't want anything. I want to stay here. And no, you got to go back. And so what do you want when you get back? And I said, well, it doesn't matter. I just want to stay here. There's nothing I want. What do you mean there's nothing you want? Everybody wants something. No, not me. I don't care. I would like to stay here for a little longer if I could. All right. So I get to stay a little bit longer. And then I said, but why? What is the point? There's nothing for me to go back for. What really is the point of this life? And then I'm starting to see inside my house that I had at the time. And I had just gotten a kitten that my friends had given me, this little kitten. And I knew that she was at my house alone. I'm not there. I had a friend that I had asked to go check on her. And so, you know, all he was doing was stopping by the house and making sure she's got food and water, and then he would leave. So now I'm seeing this vision as if I'm floating just inside my own roof, and I'm watching my kitty cat, my little kitten, and she's going around the house trying to find a place to sleep. And I'm watching her. I watch her go up the stairs and watch her go upstairs and over to a shelf that I had, and there's a couple of blankets folded up next to a little pillow, and she goes over there and curls up and goes to sleep. And then the message got to me through my thick head, or thick consciousness in this state. So I said, is that enough? And the intelligence that I was talking to said, oh, yes, that's a soul that needs you. And I said, really? That's all it takes? And he said, why do you think there's any difference? Why do you think just because she's smaller than you, her soul is any less valuable? You're the person that has been assigned to take care of her. You have to go and take care of her. She needs you. And I'm going, okay. And I know this sounds a little bit sappy, but this is actually what happened. So there was a lot that was said, and I end up waking up in the hospital bed, and there's nurses starting to freak out instantly, and I hear them saying, she's awake, she's awake. What are you doing awake? And the first thing I said was, where have I been? I was far away. Where have I been? And one of the nurses looked at me and said, honey, we don't talk about that.
Wow.
Ooh.
And you're awake now, so we've got to take care of you. And she goes, do you have any idea how much medication you're on right now? And she points over by my right, and there's this machine, and she says, that's full of Dilaudid. You should not be awake. You were in a coma. There's no way you should be awake right now. I go, well, I'm awake now. Let's talk. What happened? And they're just marveling that I'm able to have a coherent conversation at that time. Well, it turns out I was flatlined for about 4.5 minutes. They call that, in medical terms, a complication. That's all they call it. But I was out for about 4.5 minutes, and the weird thing is, the little kitty bed that my friend had made under the bookshelf that I saw during the NDE had not been there. I didn't make that. My friend did when he came over to watch the kitty. He wanted to make a little soft spot, warm spot for her to sleep. So there would have been no way for me to know about that. So then 11 days later, when I get out of the hospital and I'm all stapled up and barely walking, but I'm on my way home now, I get home, and just out of curiosity, I'm going, I have to check and see if what I saw is true. And I went upstairs, and I went to the bookshelf and looked, and sure enough, exactly the way I saw it. There's a little blanket folded up with a little pillow next to it, and it was all full of kitty hair. And I knew, there's this little round depression in it. She was about the size of a football back then. She was just this fat, hairy little kitty. And you could tell that she had been sleeping in that spot. And then here she comes. She had, I don't know what she'd been doing, but she comes up down the hallway, and there she is. And she was so happy to see me. She's never done this since. But she ran up to me and right into my lap and went right onto my belly where I'd had the surgery. And I was going, oh, my God.
No,
okay,
kitty.
I'm so happy to see you. Yeah, no, don't, not right there, baby, not right there. And but I couldn't help it. I pet her, and she looked at me, and it was just this knowing. And what I took away from that experience is that the purpose of this life is interacting with every other soul on this earth. That's the purpose of this life. Whether you treat them well or whether you don't, because when you do visit that other side, you're going to experience all the pain and all the pleasure you have ever given anyone. And it will happen all at once. That's what happened to me. I experienced all the pain and all the pleasure I had ever given anybody in my interactions in my life so far at the time. And let me tell you, that hurts or feels
Wow.
really, really good, depending on how you lived your life. And that's the whole point, because we shape each other as we interact with each other. And that includes animals, how we treat animals, how we treat friends, acquaintances, complete strangers. That's how we learn and grow as individuals and collectively. So that matters. When you're driving around and you get road rage and you tell someone, to F off, and you say that right to their face, yeah, well, that's going to be remembered. It's very important how we interact with each other, and it changed me forever. I came back from that a different person. I was so selfish before that, and now I'm very careful of how I interact with people, and just try to, leave a wake of good times behind me.
Wow.
Wow. That's a beautiful story. It really is. I mean, I believe that. I believe, you had a profound experience that completely changed your life. I mean, that's amazing, Heather. Amazing.
Well, it's not something that I was comfortable talking about at first. I never knew that I would be hosting Midnight in the Desert. I was perfectly happy being arts producer. That was the job that I never knew I always wanted. And so I was totally happy doing that. And then when it came to hosting and then open lines time, and then somebody calls in and they said, well, you said you've had several paranormal experiences. What was the most profound paranormal experience you've ever had? And I said, well, I had an NDE. That changed everything. And she goes, well, can you tell us all about it? And I just clammed up and freaked out. I'm like, I don't know. That was, oh my gosh, you guys are going to think I'm all out of my mind if I tell you that. So I had to think about it for a few weeks before I was able.
Did you just hear that voice? Was that on your line, Heather?
That was not on my line. I don't know what that was.
I heard that too.
Yeah, I heard it.
Well, listen, back to that. We're about out of time. Heather, good luck tonight on Open Lines, midnightatthedesert.com. Thank you for joining us. Good night, Heather, Brock,
Sure, man.
Dave.
That was awesome.
Jennifer, Corey.
Good night, Jimmy.
Frankie. Good night. See you next week.
Good night, Brock. Bye. Bye.
Night.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome.
Bye, Heather.